As part of the Erasmus Plus project developing entrepreneurial capabilities of young women and more particularly that of the web platform to be produced in the WP4, the French partner Circle Augustin de Hippon presents this video dedicated to prejudice on cultural aspects. We will see in this video an introduction to the topic, prejudices against migrants in general, prejudice and discrimination specific to migrant women, anti-discrimination laws, tips and suggestions, anecdotes and testimonies. The concept of culture refers to the norms, values, and institutions of a society. We are talking about a cultural distance that makes it possible to assess the differences within the national culture between the majority group and the minority groups. This cultural distance is manifested by prejudices that local populations have towards migrants. This video will present some of the prejudices that migrant women entrepreneurs face in host countries in Europe. We'll also talk about anti-discrimination laws that allow them to protect themselves and finish with some tips and some testimonies. Prejudices against migrants in general. Immigrants have always presented prejudices in the host countries in Europe. Recent waves of migration due to wars or climate and economic problems have accentuated these prejudices. We shall see in what follows some of these prejudices. Europe would be a fortress besieged by migrants. This is the message conveyed by some politicians in European countries. While 85% of migrants flee to neighboring countries, other developing countries, only 15% of migrants arrive in Europe. Are the poorest people migrating? No. Migrating is expensive. You have to finance the trip, the papers. Sometimes the smugglers, people fleeing the misery of the world, do not have the means to migrate. As for the long-established migrants, who in part acquired even the nationality of the country of acceptance, many have succeeded in their professional lives and are in the middle class of this country. Migrants would take Europeans' jobs. Migrants often take jobs that Europeans do not want. Some are entrepreneurs, can create their own jobs, and probably create jobs. The labor market is not shared like a cake. For a cake, the more guests, the smaller the shares. The labor market is different. In economics, the more people there are, the more demand there is for goods and services, and therefore the jobs that need to be created to meet them. Whether they are in a regular situation or not, foreign people work, pay taxes, and social contributions, which benefits society as a whole. To explain unemployment, it is better to point to redundancies and relocations made in order to increase the profit of shareholders. Migrants would benefit from social security. Studies have shown that every migrant who arrives in Europe produces more, contributes more, to public finances, than it costs. Europe is a continent that is aging. Migrants are even essential to raise the birth rate. Migrants are criminals. Not having residence papers, for example, can lead to jail time. All of this adds up to prison statistics. There is no link between immigration and increased crime. Prejudice and discrimination specific to migrant women. Migrant women in host countries in Europe may face a series of prejudices and stereotypes specific to them, often exacerbated by factors such as race, religion, social class, and migration status. We shall see in what follows some of these prejudices. Cultural and religious stereotypes. They may be perceived as subjugated because of their ethnic or religious background, which may lead to discrimination in different aspects of their lives, including access to employment, education, and social services. Prejudice based on language. They may be perceived as less educated or less able, which may limit their professional and social opportunities. Gender-based violence. Migrant women are often at increased risk of gender-based violence, including domestic violence, sexual harassment, and sexual exploitation. These forms of violence are sometimes minimized or ignored because of prejudices that migrant women are less worthy of protection or less credible than indigenous women. Do women emancipate themselves by leaving their country of origin? A common stereotype is that leaving one's country of origin would necessarily lead to emancipation, to liberation. While migration transforms gender roles and accelerates gender transformations, it does not necessarily tend towards emancipation. Migrant women, all victims? Contrary to the previous, more heroic prejudice, women in exile are also often seen as victims in the collective imagination. It's hiding the resilience and all the forms of resistance that exist, even within a system of sexist oppression. Bad mothers/wives/daughters breaking the ban? Migrant women may have been considered bad mothers, wives, or daughters fleeing a tradition that assigns them to the home. To escape the stigma of these accusations, they would travel back and forth between their country of origin and the country of arrival to maintain the bond with their family. Employment discrimination. Because of prejudices linked to their ethnic origin, accent, clothing, or migratory status, they may face discrimination on the labor market. For example, they may be confined to precarious, low-paid jobs with little opportunity for advancement, limited access to social services. They may face barriers in accessing social services such as healthcare, housing, and education due to language barriers, institutional discrimination, or restrictive immigration policies. Anti-discrimination laws. As we have just seen, migrant women in host countries in Europe face a multitude of prejudices and discriminations that can have a significant impact on their social, economic, and political integration. Raising awareness of these issues and implementing inclusive policies and practices to ensure equal rights and opportunities for all migrant women is the goal of some associations and national and European legislation. In the EU, any discrimination on any grounds is prohibited, as stated in the EU Charter of Fundamental Rights. A range of laws and directives protect you against discrimination on different grounds, including race and ethnic origin, religion, belief, disability, age or sexual orientation, equal treatment for men and women in terms of employment and occupation and access to supply of goods and services, proposal for equal treatment between persons irrespective of religion, belief, disability, or sexual orientation. A whole program against these prejudices and discriminations can be found on the website of the European Commission. One of the European directives to combat prejudice and discrimination, including gender and ethnic origin, is Directive 2000/43/EC of the Council of the European Union of June 29, 2000 on the implementation of the principle of equal treatment between persons irrespective of race or ethnic origin. This directive prohibits discrimination on the basis of race or ethnic origin in various fields, including employment, education, social protection, access to goods and services, and the provision of goods and services. Here are some tips and suggestions. 1. Knowledge of culture of the hosting country. Understand social norms, customs, etiquette, and values prevalent in the society of the host country. This understanding could perhaps avoid being in situations conducive to prejudice or discrimination. 2. Know your rights. Learn about your rights as a migrant and anti-discrimination laws in your host country. Local organizations or associations can help you understand your rights and get help if you face discrimination. 3. Strengthen language skills. Improving your language skills in the language of the host country can help you better integrate and communicate effectively, reducing misunderstandings and prejudices. 4. Education and training. Investing in your education and vocational training can help you access employment opportunities and reduce barriers related to prejudice and discrimination. 5. Stay confident. Stay confident in yourself and your abilities. Do not let the prejudices of others discourage you in pursuing your goals and aspirations. 6. Reporting cases of discrimination. If you are facing discrimination, feel free to report the incident to the relevant authorities or migrant rights organizations. Documenting incidents can be useful for taking legal action or raising awareness of these issues. 7. Promote awareness. Participate in awareness initiatives in your local community to fight against stereotypes and prejudices towards migrants, sharing your own stories and educating others about migrants' positive contributions to society. 8. Support network. Look for support groups or migrant women's communities where you can share your experiences, get advice and support to face the challenges. To finish this video, now some anecdotes and testimonies. Fatuma, an immigrant from Africa, faced prejudice and discrimination in her workplace because of her ethnicity. Instead of remaining silent, Layla decided to volunteer as a staff representative and raised the issue of diversity and inclusion at company meetings. Through his efforts, diversity policies have been put in place and prejudice awareness training has been organized, creating a more inclusive work environment for all employees. Layla, a young outpatient doctor in her final year of medicine at Tenon Hospital, of North African origin, I was taking my coffee break. I forgot to staple my orange badge with my name and status on it, but the stethoscope was prominently in the right pocket of my blouse. A nurse asks me and hands me the broom, "Do not forget to clean room number 2. When I introduced myself, this person did not know where to stand and apologized. Maria, a migrant from South America, faced barriers in her job search due to her accent and migratory background. Instead of being discouraged, Maria decided to start her own kitchen business, showcasing the flavors of her home country. Through her hard work and passion, Maria quickly attracted loyal customers and gained recognition in her local community. Thank you for watching. Follow us on social media and have a look to our website. This video is finished, thank you for viewing it. It is carried out by the French partner of the Erasmus Project DECOY, the Cercle Augustin de Hippon.